Yes, a star is born.
Welcome to Oscar's Greatest Moments 2015 edition, Jeffrey, and we're into our second segment. My name is Patrick McDonald. I'm from HollywoodChicago.com and the Chicago Film Tour. Jeffrey?
And I am Jeffrey Leibham, Chicago's premier Oscar historian. Not only do I know the facts, but I've actually seen all of the films.
Yes, sir. And this is one of my favorite segments that we came up a couple of years ago. We're kind of going through Oscar history as we speak, year by year. And 2 years ago, we went through the best class of Best Pictures, right?
Correct.
And then last year, we took on the Best Actors. So this year, it's the ladies' turn.
It is the ladies' turn for Best Actresses.
That's right. That's right. And we're going to go through our top 4 best classes of Best Actresses in Oscar history.
Which, ironically, in the past 2 years for Best Picture and for Best Actor, it was pretty easy for me. This year, there was actually 11 years that I actually had to really ponder, you know, who's the weakest performance in this. So they say they don't write strong roles for females. Well, I disagree, or at least these actresses are doing some great stuff with no material.
Well, let's talk about our number 4. Jeffrey, what was your best year? Number 4.
Number 4 for me is 1939, which is considered a great year in film history, possibly the watershed year.
Yes.
But in this year, we have, of course, Vivien Leigh for Gone with the Wind, who actually she won. But also Bette Davis in one of those many nominations you referred to.
Dark Victory.
Greta Garbo in Ninochka.
Yes, her last great role.
We had Greer Garson, of course, again, for Goodbye, Mr. Chips.
Goodbye, Mr. Chips.
And Irene Dunne for Love Affair.
Yes.
So,
Jeffrey, that was my number 1.
Oh my gosh. I knew we would probably have some similarities.
Yes, and the thing is, the reason it's my number 1 is a classic year with classic actresses. All 5 of those actresses, we'll talk about the weak sister, but all 5 of them notable people in the golden age of Hollywood. To me, it was like a rich, romantic type year.
Oh, definitely.
It wasn't even a question that would be my number 1. What is the weak sister for you?
Well, for me in that link,
they're literally weak sisters because they're women.
For me, I'd say the weakest performance probably would be Greer Garson in Goodbye, Mr. Chips. I do think that the strongest is Greta Garbo.
Yes.
You get to see a great range in Garbo. When you think of Garbo, you think of her as being very serious, very, you know, Scandinavian. And she's light and funny, and
she really gets into it.
She does really get into it, and it really is conveyed throughout the beauty of her performance and the joy that she's actually having giving that performance to you.
Well, I totally agree with Greer being the weak sister, but I still, Vivien Leigh does it for me with Gone with the Wind, and we can debate that later. But my number 4, Jeffrey, I'm going modern.
Okay.
2007.
2007. Oh my goodness.
We have Marion Cotillard in La Vie en Rose, and she won the Oscar. Cate Blanchett for Elizabeth the Golden Age. Julie Christie, away from her, very memorable. Laura Linney for The Savages with the great Philip Seymour Hoffman. And Ellen Page for Juno, which is, you know, just an introduction of a character actor there in a very memorable type film. I guess if I have to have a weak sister in that one, it's tough, but seems ridiculous, but Cate Blanchett, I just didn't like Elizabeth the Golden Age.
Oh, Julie Christie by far is, I think, the weakest.
Oh!
I did not like Away from Her as a film. I didn't think the performance was Oscar worthy.
So that was my number 4. Your number 3, sir.
My number 3 is, again, recent. Not 2007, but 2004.
Ooh.
2004, we have Hilary Swank, who won for $1 Million Baby.
All right.
Going up against Annette Bening, once again, for her role in Being Julia. Then we have Catalina Sandino Moreno for Maria Full of Grace. We also have Imelda Staunton in Vera Drake.
All right.
And finally, Kate Winslet in The Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
A lot of hard names to remember in that one.
and some long titles. But I think all 5 are incredibly strong performances. It's probably my favorite Kate Winslet performance.
Okay, interesting.
Imelda Staunton, I think, should have won the Oscar this year for Vera Drake.
For that year. Mm-hmm.
And I think that the weakest link in all of those would probably be Hilary Swank for $1 Million Baby, who ended up actually winning the Oscar.
Now we're going to go Annette Bening on that for the
Being
weak
Julia?
sister.
Okay.
Only because I just felt that movie wasn't up to like a standard of Oscar. It was a good like PBS, you know.
Okay. Masterpiece.
Yeah, it was a masterpiece.
Classic.
Theater. Yeah, it just didn't.
I thought it was much more fun than that.
So my number 3 is 1974, Jeffrey.
Okay.
1970. We keep going back to this year. I think we did we had that year
in my best actor and my best actor.
And best actor, best picture, and now we're in best. Let's go over the performances there. Ellen Burstyn for Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. She was the winner. Diane Carroll for Claudine. Faye Dunaway for Chinatown. Valerie Perrine in Lenny. And the great Jenna Rollins in A Woman Under the Influence. I'm only saying that Diane Carroll is the weak sister only because it seems like she was nominated for a representation rather than a picture.
And I would have to agree. I would have to agree with you as well on that.
But here I think Jenna Rollins and Faye Dunaway, as I said, and Ellen Burstyn, I think those are 3 great performances in the 1970s. And Scorsese did Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore because he wanted to prove he just wasn't a mean streets guy. Isn't it funny that they made a TV show off of a Martin Scorsese film?
It is rather ironic. Yes, a successful one at that.
Yeah, I just thought of that. Yes, just Alice ran for years, and Vic Tayback, who played Mel in the film, went over to the TV show.
Reprised his role.
All right. Your number 2.
My number 2 would be 1961.
Ah, yes.
When we have Sophia Loren in Two Women, who won the Oscar. We have Audrey Hepburn in Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Very good.
Piper Laurie in The Hustler. Geraldine Page in Summer and Smoke. And Natalie Wood in Splendor in the Grass. Now this happens to be the same year that Natalie Wood was in the Best Picture winner, West Side Story.
There you go.
I would say by far the weakest link in this, which is really tough for me to pick.
Very difficult.
Would probably be Geraldine Page in Summer and Smoke, and the only reason for that is because she plays the role. I don't see much range in her role. She kind of plays it very one-dimensional.
Okay.
But all 5 of these performances are incredible. The fact that Sophia Loren is acting in Italian in a neo-realistic film.
Yeah.
You have Piper Laurie, who's actually bringing in some method acting from the 50s in a very gritty, dark film, The Hustler.
Yeah.
You've got the young, beautiful, vivacious Natalie Wood, who's falling in love for the first time in this film, and that's exactly what this film is about, young love. And Audrey Hepburn in her iconic role.
Yeah,
when you think of Audrey Hepburn, you think of
legend. It's impossible for me to pick a weak sister in that. For one thing, I've never seen Two Women and never seen Summer and Smoke.
Well, they're both incredible films.
And the three that are left, I can't even pick somebody who's weak there. So we'll move on to my number 2, which is 1954. Jeffrey, 1954. Grace Kelly for The Country Girl, and she won. Dorothy Dandridge and Carmen Jones. The great Judy Garland in one of her defining roles in A Star Is Born. Audrey Hepburn in Sabrina, and then of course Jane Wyman in Magnificent Obsession. Mrs. Ronald Reagan places herself well in that, and there's not much else to say. That's the weak sister. The other 4 films are practically classics. I think that Judy Garland should have got the Oscar that year. That's it. But I thought that Grace Kelly was terrific in Country Girl.
Well, if I had a ballot, I would have totally nominated Dorothy Dandridge for Carmen Jones. I feel that Judy Garland's performance is strong, but I feel that the film is way too long and bloated. I think that Grace Kelly won because she was playing against type.
Yes.
They could make her, you know, not the beautiful ingenue.
Right.
Putting the glass, you know, the horn rimmed glasses on her makes her the intellectual, and hey, you win an Oscar. So, well, God bless Grace.
Yeah, Bing Crosby still did her. But anyway, let's do a little
drum roll. For me, the best film, or the best year rather, for the strongest 5 actresses, which is totally debatable, and I'm surprised you didn't think of it or didn't choose it, would be 1950.
1950.
It's Anne Baxter and Bette Davis both for All About Eve. And then you have Gloria Swanson for Sunset Boulevard. You have Eleanor Parker in Caged. And then finally, the actress who did win was Judy Holliday for Born Yesterday.
Why is this your favorite?
It's a year where Hollywood wasn't afraid to look at it, to turn the mirror to itself.
Okay.
Because Sunset Boulevard obviously is not a flattering picture of Hollywood at all. And All About Eve is not flattering about the theater world or about acting.
Right.
So it's a year where they actually said, okay, we're going to confront some dark truths, if you will.
Interesting. The weak sister in there, I have to just say Cage, because I've never seen the film.
And it truly is the weakest.
Okay.
It's a melodrama. A prison, woman thrown in prison. So yes, along with Olivia de Havilland in The Snake Pit, the same very similar type of role that we were seeing in the 50s.
So that's our overview of Best Actresses. We'll be watching the Oscars on Sunday, and we want everybody to have a happy Oscar week.
That's right.
And we'll see you next year for Oscar's Greatest Moments.